Good evening to the elected officials who are here this evening, to the clergy, His Eminence, to all our friends who are here, especially on short notice in a sign of solidarity. Thank you for being here. We thank Rabbi Angela Buckdahl for those powerful comments. The rabbi was born in South Korea to a Japanese-born Korean Buddhist mother and a father who was an American Ashkenazi Reform Jew. Her father's ancestors emigrated from Romania to the United States. At the age of 5, she moved to the United States with her family. She was raised Jewish, attending Temple Beth Al in Tacoma, Washington, which her great-grandparents had assisted in founding a century before. Rabbi Buckdahl is the first Asian American to be ordained as a cantor and as a rabbi in the world. My friends, that says it all. God bless America. Only in America. She is the first woman and the first Asian American to be the senior rabbi of Central Synagogue in its 175-year history. God bless the state of New York. But we gather tonight on a somber moment because this is a dark and frightening time in our nation. Our better angels have been overpowered. The character of America is being perverted. And yes, the power of hate is overtaking the power of love. We mourn and we embrace the families of the 11 victims in Pittsburgh and grieve with them. We mourn and grieve for the African-American community in Kentucky, and we suffer with those who endured the anxiety and threats of mail bombs last week. But we would not be here tonight if these were isolated incidents. They are not. There is a frightening pattern developing on many levels of American society. Anti-Semitic incidents have increased 57% nationwide. Neo-Nazi groups have increased 22% in this country. Nativists and white supremacy groups are on the rise. At the demonstration in Charlottesville, in August 2017, members of the Ku Klux Klan felt so empowered, they didn't even need to wear their hoods to hide their faces. The societal fabric of America is stressed and frayed. We gather this evening to pray and to marshal the voices of support and love as an antidote to the forces of division and hate. Elie Wiesel said, "There may be times when we are powerless to prevent injustice, but there must never be a time when we fail to protest." As governor, I pray with you this evening, but as governor, I also state in the strongest term that we are a nation of laws and we are a state of laws, and we have zero tolerance for discrimination or hate in the state of New York. Hate is not protected by our law, not in speech and not in action. Quite the opposite. Our state is the most aggressive hate crimes laws in the country. And I announce today that we are doubling both our security and our prevention efforts. You have my word as governor that we will stamp out the evil of discrimination whenever and wherever it rears its ugly head. The Jewish community is an important member of the family of New York, and we will protect our family, all together, all united. But I am afraid that enforcing the law, while an essential, important step, is not the only step. Being prepared to fight the fire is necessary. but we must work to prevent the fires from starting in the first place. I feel as if we are standing in a field of dry grass with smoldering embers surrounding us, and a strong wind is shifting directions. We must stamp out the embers before they become flames, and we must reduce the winds of hate that threaten the fields of peace. There are those who now will wrap themselves in the flag of America and then go out and do violence in the name of America. But they could not be more wrong or more misguided. They do not begin to understand the character of America, and they disgrace the very flag they carry. Our founding fathers would be repulsed by these ignorant acts of violence. In school, one of the first lessons we learn about America is when we are asked to raise our hands to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Whatever your religion, whatever your race, whatever your creed, we are indivisible. Our founding fathers anticipated that there would be differences because we were being born as a collection from across the globe. But we were to have, as Jefferson said, a decent respect for the opinions of others. One of the founders' first acts was to pass a law to make the motto and on the seal of the United States, E pluribus unum, out of many one. It set the tone of unity and commonality. Those very same founders didn't fear immigration, they embraced it. It was the British government's bid to block migration to the colonies that was among one of the reasons cited for the revolution in the Declaration of Independence. The tremendous right to practice your religion in freedom was a powerful magnet drawing many to America. The Pilgrims were separatists from the Church of England. The Huguenots settled the Hudson Valley, French Protestants fleeing persecution in Roman Catholic France, English Catholics under George Calvert colonized Maryland, Quakers in Pennsylvania, Jewish people in Rhode Island seeking the religious freedom established by Roger Williams. 1 year into his presidency, George Washington visited a synagogue in Newport, Rhode Island, as the First Amendment was being debated. To his Jewish hosts, Washington wrote a remarkable letter. He reasserted that the government of the United States, quotes, gives no sanction to bigotry, no assistance to persecution, and requires only that the people who live under the protection of the government conduct themselves as good citizens. Washington quoted the Bible to remind them that, in effect, they had reached their promised land. May the children of the stock of Abraham who dwell in this land continue to merit and enjoy the goodwill of other inhabitants, while everyone shall sit in safety under one's own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid. That was George Washington to the Jewish community. There was no period that tested our unity more than the Civil War. And as the war closed, President Abraham Lincoln pointed the nation to the future in his second inaugural address, saying, "With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace." Lincoln's invoking God is relevant and instructive. We are one nation under God. It is not just our government that instructs peace and tolerance, but our religious heritage as well. We are gathered in a house of worship today, Christianity teaches us tolerance. Matthew 25 instructs us in Catholicism to do the least for our brothers. Judaism speaks to the concept of tikkun olam, to reach out and heal the breach. And the concept of tzedakah, literally justice, literally charity, but more broadly meaning the concept of social justice. Buddhism, Islam, virtually every religion speaks of tolerance, acceptance, and condemns violence. The victims in Pittsburgh were engaged in a sacred Jewish naming ceremony of a newborn, a bris, celebrating the joy of a new life, only to perish in the face of hate. We will not let them die in vain. We must once again, in Lincoln's words, bind up the nation's wounds. We must rise above our traditional political divisions. We must refrain from fanning the embers of hate before the flames are out of control. Our American values override our political partisan differences. Intolerant voices of division must be condemned by all, and not episodically, but consistently, not only for public consumption, but genuinely with personal commitment. Political debate must honor Jefferson's mandate of civil discourse. Our political leaders must heed this wisdom today. At this time of chaos, confusion, ignorance, and fear, this nation needs a light to follow, and let that light be the torch that is held by the great lady in our harbor. Let New York State once again serve this nation as an example to follow. That is the legacy of this great state throughout history, a beacon of progressive values. We are home to 19 million people from every nation on the globe. New York State is the laboratory of the American experiment in democracy. We are not threatened by diversity. We celebrate diversity. Generations of immigrants stepped off ships and planes onto our shores. This state has thrived because we have no tolerance for discrimination, not in our laws and not in our spirit. We are a people of differences, but we have forged community through cords of commonality. This state exemplifies the best of the American spirit. The rabbi asks us what we can do. Let us commit ourselves this evening to a constructive course of action. Let New Yorkers exemplify what it means to be a true American patriot. Let New York show this nation what the flag actually means. Let us lead forward in the way of darkness. Let us lead as a government, as a community, and let us lead as individual citizens. Let us lead this nation at this time of confusion by the power of our example. There is no place for hate in our state, and New York lives by the credo that the most powerful four-letter word is still love. Thank you, and God bless you.